All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get her going here. Start me off. Where to bid to go? Have it like $1,000. Open it up.
How to get approved for a home loan. Welcome back. I'm Ted Thomas. I've been involved in real estate as an investor, an author, a publisher for the past 30 years. Now, everyone wants to create wealth and they want to have a good life. And I'm sure that's one of your goals. So I can tell you you're in the right place and I'll help show you how. And today's episode is a discussion on how to get approved for a home loan. Sounds fairly simple. It is common for young couples to want to get started borrowing and buy a new home or a used home, but at least get started. The challenge for the banker always is, do the people have good credit? Do they have a good credit score? Do they know how to handle credit? So this becomes a big deal. I've made a career of past 30 years of a subset of the traditional real estate that's usually thought of as homes, residential building lots. It's small apartment buildings and small office buildings, sometimes even farms. I'll be right back to tell you more about that. The subset I've become an expert in is called tax defaulted real estate. It's the same as traditional real estate with one big difference, an exception, and the exception is the owner has defaulted and not paid their property taxes, and that means there's going to be consequences. So it's a no-no not to pay your property taxes. The state legislature in all 50 states has laws, they have statutes that make property taxes mandatory. So they must be paid by all property owners. Otherwise, the properties will be confiscated and resold at public auctions.
How about to go there? How about to go there? How about to go where? How about to go here? How about to go here? How about now? How about to go?
So unpaid taxes has a consequence, which we're going to talk about a little bit today, because this is where you can make a lot of money buying for properties for 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar. However, what are you going to do to sell it? Well, you're going to need to teach people how to get loans. So to get loans is not such an easy thing. That means someone wants to borrow money. Now, I can assure you there's plenty of banks that want to lend money. However, they want to lend to those people that can pay them back. Now, when they get paid back, they not only want the loan paid back, but they want to make a generous interest rate. So they're going to check the credit. Now, what happens when the bank starts checking credit? Oh, my goodness. What happens is they find out that 25% of all the people that apply for a loan, they have poor credit. They get a low grade. That means it's below the bank's credit requirements. So they have credit scores. All right, they call that FICO scores. All right, now if your FICO score is low, you're going to have a tough time getting a loan. So you need to think about that. If you're going to buy tax liens and tax defaulted property, you're going to want to sell to people. They're going to have trouble getting loans. Now, I'm not a credit expert, but I checked and found out that people have credit scores of 500 up to maybe 575 or 580. They're below what the bank wants. Now, the bank wants to have credit scores above 580. In other words, they want to have people that they feel assured are going to pay them back. So loan approval is not quite so easy as everybody talks about. But if you have good credit and you're above the 580, well, of course, you're going to do fine. So our buyers, we're buying properties at tax defaulted auction.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get her going here. Start me off. Where to bid to go? Have it like $1,000. Open it up.
We want to resell the property. If you want to resell the property, understand the person that's going to buy your property has to get a loan. So that means they might not be able to buy your property. Why? Because they can't get a traditional loan. So what does that mean? Well, that might mean seller financing is going to be important. So low credit scores can be improved, and I'm not exactly in that business, so I'm not here to tell you about that today, but I am going to tell you that people are not going to go out and buy in a brand new subdivision right away if they don't have good credit scores. However, they will buy tax defaulted property and they will buy used properties if they can get a little help from a seller. All right, now, if you're buying in tax defaulted situations, you're going to be able to be that person to resell the property. If you want to resell your property, you can use installment sales to sell the property. So I'm fond of saying getting the money is more important than the interest rate. You want to give that a little bit of thought, because the person that's trying to get a loan, it's more important to them to get the loan than it is for the interest rate. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that every investor thinks the same way, but people that have trouble and they want to get started again, they're going to be the buyers for your property. They're going to be thinking getting the money or getting the loan or getting the financing is a lot more important than the interest rate. For sure, the government home loan programs are there, and there's lots of them, okay? All right, now the government will lend money in many iffy situations, okay? However, it's going to cost a little bit more money. So in today's episode, I'm discussing how to get an approval for a home loan. All right, step number one, if you have good credit, it's going to be a piece of cake. However, if you don't have good credit, you're looking for a loan, it's going to take quite a bit of difference. So what's the difference? Well, let's take a look. So take a look at the graph that I'm depicting here now. If you wanted to borrow $200,000 on a 30-year loan with good to excellent credit, you might be able to get a 3% loan. Well, that would give you a payment of about $800, about $843 to be exact. All right, now over 30 years, you as the borrower would pay over $303,000 for that particular loan. Now, that's someone with excellent credit. All right, now someone that doesn't have excellent credit, they might have to pay 5% for a loan. So same $200,000, now they're borrowing at 5%. Well, now the payment's gone up. Well, you knew that was going to go up. It's up to $1,074. But over 30 years, the loan's going to cost that person $386,000. That's $83,000 more than the person that was getting the loan at the 3%. All right, so everybody said, oh, the loan rate only went up 2%. Well, that 2% is huge. It requires 27% more when it comes time to payback. So you're getting the idea. Credit score is important. So my point is, credit score does matter. All right, so all the buyers that are coming to you, if you're in the business of tax defaulted properties, which I teach, all those buyers that come to you, the money is going to be a lot more important than the interest rate. They're going to be very interested in being able to get the loan. That's going to be very important to them. All right, now I've been in the tax defaulted business for 3 decades. I make a business of helping other people. Now, for one reason or another, a lot of people have had trouble. They could have been through a divorce. They could have been through a bankruptcy. They could have been through a business loss. There could be many things that could go wrong. So somehow their finances are upside down. As I say, about 25% of all the people that apply to get a loan are turned down. Why are they turned down? Because their credit score, their FICO score, is below that 580 that we mentioned earlier. What do these people do to get loans? Well, they go and they look for seller financing, which is very important. So that brings up a different challenge for the new buyer. So the new buyer coming to you, if you're selling tax defaulted property, is going to have a credit problem to start with. Can you solve that problem? Yes, you can, and you can do it without giving up a lot of security. So depending upon who's counting, 25% of all the buyers are going to be struggling purchasing property because they have a poor credit score. Okay, so understanding the situation that these new owners or new property buyers have is going to be your job. You could be helping them solve the problem. So if you're out to try and get yourself a home loan, well, you're going to have good credit. But thinking about the people that are coming to you if they're buying tax defaulted property, what do they need? They need credit. So they're going to be interested in seller financing. So normal circumstances require as much as a 20% down. But there's a lot of government loans that if you have good credit, you can get 3 or 3.5% down. All right, but the people that we're going to do business with in the tax defaulted business, they're not going to have good credit in many cases. So their lenders are constantly trying to figure out how they're going to lend to these people. You can be a lender and you can help people in this situation. So 30 years ago when I discovered this business, I discovered that tax defaulted properties were happening in over 3,000 counties across the United States. That means there was plenty of properties that were going to go to auction that could be bought for 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar and then resold. So if you can buy a property for 10 or 20 or 30 cents on the dollar with no mortgage or no deed of trust, how many of those would you want to buy? You probably want to buy a lot of those properties. And if you could, now you want to do what with them? Well, you want to sell them. One of the ways to help you sell those properties is to think about the installment sale and seller financing. Nationwide, millions of tax defaulted properties are sold at auction to savvy buyers. We want you to be that savvy buyer. And what you can do is you can resell that property, not for the tax assessed value, because it's going to be discounted from tax assessed value by 60, 70, 80%, and you're going to buy it at auction. Now you need to figure out how you're going to get it sold. The best way to get it sold is to use the proper marketing and also offer seller financing or installment sales. So if you can buy these properties for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar and sell them using your computer for 50 or 60 cents on the dollar, you can see there's a huge margin there and you can make yourself lots of money. Conventional thinking says to make a lot of money, you need a lot of money. Well, I'm going to prove to you right now that you don't need a huge bundle of cash to get started in this business. For example, a Wisconsin couple, shortly after they graduated from my training, they purchased a property in Michigan. They purchased that property that was assessed for $55,000, but they only paid $8,000 for it. So that was less than 20 cents on the dollar. Now, many of these real estate auctions will sell the property 60, 70, 80% below the tax assessed value. So this couple followed my system. They bought it low, and now they're going to sell it into the marketplace low. Okay, they didn't do a fix-up on it. They cleaned it up, they touched it up, and that cost them about $4,000 more than what they paid. So now they spent $8,000 to buy it, an additional $4,000 to fix it up. They're in it for a total of $12,000, but they want to sell it. So they put it back into the marketplace, and they ended up selling it using Facebook Marketplace for $35,000. Now they've generated themselves a profit of $23,000. Not bad. They've almost doubled the money they had in it. Now this is just a teeny tiny glimpse of the spectacular kind of returns that can happen in this business. Now there's many more of these that I'll tell you about in future episode. Right now I'm running out of time. You see those little white circles? That's how many auctions are taking place within that state in the next 90 days. This calendar updates every single day. I'm here today to show you how to make money. To do that, I'm going to show you briefly that there are thousands of tax defaulted real estate properties across the 3,000 plus counties in the United States. This is quite interesting. You're looking at the Ted Thomas Magic Interactive Map and Auction Calendar. It changes every day. Now, I created the calendar and the map so I would know how many auctions are taking place every day in the United States. Now I can show the little guy how to make money. Most importantly, I created this system so I could have an auction list for each auction 24/7. The counties that have low population, they're going to have a certain amount of tax defaulted properties. It's going to be half a dozen, maybe even up to 100. But the counties that have large populations, they're going to have hundreds and even thousands of properties to sell at auction. My name is Ted Thomas. I'm going to finish this video now, but right below me, if you'd like to have a sample auction list, just register and we'll send you a sample auction list. Don't forget, request your free auction list right below me.